right, so there goes the recording, and here goes the encoder, and you are good to go.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Trash Pandas. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Lindsay.
And today we have a pretty good show for you guys. We have a couple things to talk about. Let's start off with our normal. Lindsay, what have you been watching this week?
Oh, God, I've been watching so much. I've been binge watching The Golden Girls. It's on Hulu, and I'm telling you, it's like joke after joke after joke. Like, it's, if you haven't been watching The Golden Girls or binge watch The Golden Girls, rewatch The Golden Girls. It's so good. It's so good.
I used to watch it when I was younger, and I really loved it.
Oh my God, it's so good. And like, just, it's the writing is fantastic, and especially Betty White, her delivery is so perfect. Like, it's amazing. So that has been one of the ones I've been binge watching. The other one that I've been or that I watched was the Natalie Wood documentary on HBO, and it's produced by her daughter. It's made by her daughter.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's made by her daughter, and it's basically like what I would sum it up to is like, if anybody remembers like True Hollywood Stories, like that's really what it reminded me of. Like, it's a really big look back into her entire career, her childhood, her personal life, and all of that. But then it also touches on her death, which is to some like a big mystery or a big source of mystery. Didn't you watch like the BuzzFeed or
I did. Well, I watched that that show that you're talking about as well, but it came out a couple of months ago, and that's like when I saw it. It was like on my suggested for you on Hulu, and I really liked it, but I don't recall everything that happened. So you can kind of give the rundown on all that.
Yeah, so basically, like, as far as her death goes, to her family, it's not a mystery. Like, her daughters truly believe that Robert Wagner and Christopher Walken, who was also on the boat the night that she disappeared, had nothing to do with her death. And they actually believe that she probably fell off the boat trying to secure the dinghy that's on the side of the boat, because it was always something that bothered her. Like, if she could hear the banging of the boat against the side while she was trying to sleep, she would always be like, Robert, go fix the boat. But he was asleep. And so she went out there to try to fix it, but she was inebriated, and she had like a sleeping pill in her system at the time, and probably fell in time and ended up drowning. But there's a lot of conspiracy theories about how she actually died, and as far as it maybe possibly being a homicide.
Right.
And that's what the BuzzFeed episode kind of like touches on and talks about.
Yeah, they talk about a couple of different theories, which, you know, from what I recall from the actual show that you're talking about, they didn't really do multiple theories. It was kind of just like, this is what we think happened. And the BuzzFeed one that I watched was kind of like, we're going to tell you all of the theories.
Yeah.
And like one of them was like aliens, and one of them was, you know what I mean? It's just like all these different things.
Craziness.
Right. And I thought that was really interesting, though, that they had said that when they found the dinghy, that the oars were locked. So she wasn't actually on it and going anywhere.
Right, but that kind of goes to her family's theory, was like, she wasn't trying to go anywhere. She was just trying to secure the boat against the side so it wasn't banging up against the side of the boat at night, because that's
right.
what like kept her awake. And they interview Robert Wagner, her husband at the time, and her daughter is the one interviewing him. And her daughter has made it like abundantly clear that like they do not believe that there was any like maliciousness in her death.
They think
that
it was
like
an accident.
Yeah, it was totally an accident what happened to her. But there was like, the weird thing is that like she had vocalized that a big fear of hers was dark water. And she had even gotten like a psychic reading or something, like
when she was younger.
Yeah, like warning her of dark water when she was younger. And I think a lot of people just like took that and like ran with it. But her daughter makes a really good point in this interview that's on HBO and is like, who likes dark water?
Yeah,
like
nobody
is gonna go out and voluntarily swim in the ocean at night, like
in the middle of whatever.
Right, like,
yeah.
You know, so her daughter makes like super valid points about all this. So I don't know, at the end of it, I was like, I believe it was an accident.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's a whole bunch of theories about Christopher Walken.
Oh, yeah,
stuff,
and like, I don't think that's true at all.
From what I saw,
as far as,
I don't think that's something.
Yeah, as far as from what I saw, and like, in this interview, or in this documentary, they interview like all of her closest friends, and they were all like, there was no love triangle, like, she had not mentioned anything, like, this was all just blown out of proportion by tabloids, basically to sell more tabloids, you know, and to sell the story and to take advantage of this tragic accident that has happened, but that continually hurts the family. And so that's when it's like, God, tabloids are such shitty, like, because there's humans there at the end of the day that are being hurt by this and this nonsense that you continue to.
Meanwhile, we watch fucking 90 Day Fiancé.
I know.
Which is basically just one giant tabloid.
But you signed up for this.
Right. I can make fun of you if you're actually on TV.
Right.
And we're allowing people to see you with like no neck or like whatever the case might be, or a shitty name for your daughter, or like whatever. So
shitty name for your daughter.
Okay, so I started watching a couple of different things. I started watching a show that was suggested to me on my Amazon Prime called Autopsy. It was about celebrity autopsies. It's Autopsy, the last hours of, or the last days of. And the very first one is Michael Jackson. And one thing that I learned that I didn't know, and okay, maybe I'm just like super behind the times or something, but when they did his autopsy, they found out that he had been wearing a wig from like 1984 on.
A wig?
A wig, yeah, like a full-on wig. Like they said that, yeah, they said that like he had like sparse little like hairs around like the back and like around the sides, but everything else was just a wig. I had no clue. So, but they did a couple of really, really big people. It's all celebrities. So they did like River Phoenix, and I don't know if anyone remembers that, but he like basically was outside of a nightclub and started convulsing.
Yeah.
They did Marilyn Monroe and all the theories of her death, and then they also did like Brittany Murphy.
You want to know something super interesting?
Yeah.
So on my grandma's side, her uncle Bill worked for the LAPD and was a detective at the time of Marilyn Monroe's death. He actually worked her death.
That's fucking
Isn't
wild.
That wild? Like, I want to interview him.
Yeah,
like,
please, for real. Bring him on.
And I was like, okay, so was he there for like Black Dahlia? And they were like, well, and we were trying to figure out the timeline of when he worked for the LAPD and like when all that happened. And so like, I'm like, I think that he actually would have just been starting as an officer at the time of like the Black Dahlia.
Right. That's amazing.
Which is like,
that's so cool.
Crazy.
I would like love to get more into like things like that. If you guys have any like true crime shows that you want to watch, we love true crime. We will totally watch it and we'll comment on it and everything.
Yeah, I told Lauren, like, I just started watching. Lauren was like, you gotta watch the R. Kelly documentary.
Yes.
And so I started watching it and I just got like super sad. And I was like, I gotta take a break from this because I didn't realize the amount of abuse that he had suffered as a child. And I'm not like at all saying like it's okay
not justifying
or justifying it at all, but it was super you know, it's hard to hear, like, you know, he's a monster, he turned into a monster, but then hearing like, okay, this is how he became a monster. Right. But then there was also this psychologist on it, and she was like, you know, a lot of kids have been abused and a lot of kids have gone through shit and they don't end up becoming that. And I was like, true, fair enough. Like, I completely understand it. But there is like this cycle of abuse that ends up happening. And it's sad to know that like that's where it began.
Yeah.
You know, and
that's the thing about the R. Kelly documentary, which I think that we might actually be able to dedicate an episode to that maybe in the future. We'll watch it, we'll talk about it maybe. But you know, I think that a lot of people didn't realize like how much was actually happening in these cases.
yeah.
And it's really, you know, the same thing with Michael Jackson and everything, where it's like so many people love him so much that it doesn't matter how much actual, you know, evidence that they have against him. They're just going to be like, it doesn't matter. He's still like a piece of history or a piece of art.
Right.
You know?
And
so I get it, but
there are people that vehemently like root for Michael Jackson and R. Kelly, and it's just like, dude, at the end of the day, they're monsters. They're monsters. And like I was telling her, she has not watched it yet, but the HBO documentary on Michael Jackson that was just released this past year was so hard to watch, and it was brutal. And but there were things that you heard that, because I feel like a lot of people judge the victim's parents, like who would let their child hang out with a grown-ass man, you know? And then, but once you hear how Michael Jackson like groomed the entire family, like he knew what he was doing. He was manipulating all of them. And so then once you hear from them, like how he went through and like manipulated the parents and all of them, like, then you're like, oh, now I can kind of see how this ended up happening. You kind of understand, like you kind of reserve some judgment then at the end of it. You're like, okay, so it's not just cut and dry. Right. Like he used his power. He used his stardom. He used all of that and was able to manipulate them, take them on vacations, take them to Disney World, take them to all this. And like, I'm not saying like,
or even just to Neverland,
right?
Like, you know, his Neverland Ranch, like he has all these
and what you have
animals
and also you have to understand that like at the time this was happening with his victims, he was at the height of his career. So of course they're thinking like, there's nothing wrong. You know what I mean? Like, he's Michael Jackson. Like he is the biggest pop star in the world. Like, of course, nothing sketchy is happening.
Right.
And so you kind of like understand like the parents' thought process like through it all. And then you hear directly from the victims themselves, and it's super powerful because they talk about how much it has like impacted their lives and like what they had to go through to like overcome the trauma of like being sexually assaulted by Michael Jackson. And it's a wild thing. And like, trigger warning, like if you've been through sexual assault, like
probably don't watch it.
You might not want to watch it because it's rough. It's very detailed and it's very vivid, and you hear a lot of things that you cannot unhear. But at the same time, like for me, like somebody who was a fan of Michael Jackson, it was like mind-boggling. It was mind-boggling. It truly was. And it puts you in that weird spot where you're like, do I still listen to his music and enjoy him as an artist, or do I shun all of it? And you know what I mean? Like, it puts you in that weird spot where it's like, how do you hate Man in the Mirror? How do you hate Thriller? How do you hate Bad? How do you hate any of his, like, I mean, his music was genius. And it puts you as a fan in like this predicament where it's like, I don't want to support that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, how do I deny like the genius that was that?
Right. It's like, I don't want to support R. Kelly, but R. Kelly has a lot of like these hits that I'm actually, or I was a really big fan of him for a long time. And like, I actually memorized all 33 chapters of Trapped in the Closet, and I would sing it to my friends, and I have it on DVD. And I think it's so funny and so clever. And, you know, I'm also a fan of the Isley Brothers, and Ron Isley had done a bunch of songs with R. Kelly that started the whole hip opera thing, you know, like
Right.
he was basically doing the exact same thing that Isley was doing
Right.
as well. So, you know, but after you find something like that about somebody,
You
and
just ditch the art.
or you just
completely.
like, you know, or a lot of places are like, we won't play his
Right.
music.
Right.
And
Right.
that's, to me, I'm like, by all means, don't play it. I totally
Personal
understand.
choice. Yeah, I
But
understand.
at the same time, it's like that's part of
as a
like
fan,
musical history,
what
like
do
Michael
you,
Jackson,
right.
it's musical history.
Right.
And how do you just kind of ignore that?
Yeah, and I think we talked about like Chris Brown too, like
Chris Brown, same thing.
his
It's
domestic violence issues, but he turns out like hit after hit, and it's like what we actually need is like people in the music industry understanding what's happening at the time it's happening and cutting them off
right
immediately,
regardless of how
talented they are, you know. So yeah, I mean,
and I think that another interesting thing when you and I were talking about it, her and I had a conversation about the whole Michael Jackson thing. She was telling me to watch it, and I was asking about like Macaulay Culkin.
Oh yeah.
And you know, like he was somebody who's also very famous, and he was
very close
going away, and
yeah.
he was very close to Michael, and he still says to this day that
he was never
abused. But it makes sense to me, because it's like if you do it to every single one, then somebody is going to, like, if there's somebody saying that never happened to me and I was there all the time and all this stuff, then it discredits the rest of the people that are having that issue.
And I think also, like, when you're talking about Macaulay Culkin, we talked about this a little bit, like Culkin at the time he was hanging out with Michael was like at the height of his stardom, and so Michael probably wasn't able to manipulate all the people around him,
right?
Because he probably had a manager that was like, no, you need to be on this set, you need to be doing this thing, and you know what I mean. So he wasn't able to like fully manipulate the situation, whereas like these kids that he did, their families were like blue collar workers, everyday sort of people, where they were like devoting their lives to like their kids' career in dancing or like whatever it was. And so he knew who to groom. He knew who was vulnerable and who was not. And that's a classic sign of a pedophile. I mean, knowing they're master manipulators, right? And so he knew like this kid's not going to be a victim, but at the same time I'm drawn to children, and that was like his thing.
Whatever,
dude. All I can say is it's a very interesting watch, and I would highly suggest watching it, but again, trigger warning, because it goes deep into and vividly describes the sexual assaults. So total pivot, 90 Day.
90 Day. So all right, I have some things to say about that.
I hope you do.
I do.
I hope you do, because
yeah, that's like the entire point of
I think
our podcast.
that's what we're here for.
That's the entire thing.
Is to talk trash.
I want to start with Jenny and Submit,
because
I love them, and her coming. She came to India finally. She actually makes it there, and the entire thing, like she shows up and they do, you know, like the welcoming ceremony.
I loved it.
And they bring in, you know, a cow, and she's like freaking out because there's a cow inside of her house, all that stuff. But it was super sweet.
I loved it. Like, so Submit like arranged like this whole like traditional Indian like housewarming, like where like I feel like we do this like Native American culture is like you sage the house,
right?
And like
you bless the house,
right?
Make sure everything is like
right,
welcoming for a new couple.
You get rid of like bad energy, you bring in positive energy, and that's basically what he had like set up for their new house in India. And it was hilarious. Like they had Jenny walk in with like a flower pot on her head and her face. She's like.
Oh
like she's like just terrified, and then there's a cow outside shitting, and she's like, oh, that cow just took a shit. And then they go in and they start a fire like in the family room, like it reminds me of like a smudging bowl that you have like if you're into witchcraft or anything. Like it looks like a big smudge bowl, and they're starting like a fire in there, and it's just like it's a very traditional like Indian ceremony, whatever. And she's like, there's a fire in my house, and now you're bringing a cow in my house. And they start bringing the cow in, and she's like, I don't want the cow in here. And Samay is like, no, it's good. Like, it gets rid of debt. It brings profit to our family. Like, it's,
I just love that they were throwing like
so
spices at the cow. And I was like, oh my God, they're seasoning it. Like, they're making sure that this cow is going to be delicious.
That cow was a fucking beautiful cow.
It was a really attractive cow.
It was an attractive cow.
It was an attractive cow. It was like pure white.
Pure white.
Yeah,
and it had like the beautiful flowers all around its neck.
It was
and
really cool.
You know, in India, like cows are sacred.
Exactly.
And so it was cool. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, he is bringing his culture to her. And
we know from the past season that they've had issues. So
yeah.
I felt like him doing this time was kind of like him being like, you're coming into this knowing that I am 100% honest. I'm 100% with you.
Right.
And I love them so much. I want them to work out so badly.
Yeah.
And I really believe that they will.
Yeah. No, I thought it was super sweet. Like, it's like, I'm welcoming you into my culture, and I'm showing you how like serious I am about you being here, and I want to bless the house that we're in. I thought it was super sweet. Like, I don't know, if I was moving to India, I would hope my Indian boyfriend would be doing the same thing.
Same.
Like, I liked it.
They didn't really have like much go on with them. It was basically her just showing up.
Yeah. And them going through this like housewarming thing.
The one thing that maybe was like that's a problem is like they reiterated in the very beginning of the episode that she still hasn't seen the divorce papers. But I believe that he's divorced. Like, I believe he's getting
also
divorced.
though, maybe he's not going to get those divorce papers until he is fully paid
everything's paid,
the family.
Right.
And we know that he has not fully paid the family. In fact, that's why he bought a house that was so far outside of the city, because as soon as she arrives in India, they have like a super long drive outside of the city to get to the house that he bought. And he basically was like, yeah, I had to buy this house because I can't afford anything within the city. And so we're going to be kind of like in this shadier area. And he warns her, like,
you can't go out at night.
You can't go out at night. Like, we used to have a security guard to our apartment. We don't have that anymore. Like, we have our gates, and like, we have to be a lot more on alert because this area is not a good area, but this is all I could afford because I'm still paying off the debt to get divorced. So maybe that's why. And to me, that makes sense. Like, of course, you're not going to have a document saying that you're divorced until you have paid off those debts. So to me, that made sense. I don't know. Exactly. I don't think he's full of shit.
I don't think he's full of shit either. I think he's totally genuine.
I want to completely believe in him, and like, and it seems like he is totally like into her, and vice versa. Like, they literally gave up everything to be together.
Yeah. And
so I love that, and I love them. I love them.
I love them too.
Jenny is like just hilarious, and so is he.
Like, I think that they just like genuinely love each other, and I think that's what draws me to them so much, is that they're actually just being like good fucking people and not trying to, and like, you know, we know from past seasons that or the past season that he wasn't completely honest to begin with, and he was hiding a lot of things from her, but everything that he was hiding from her, I felt like it was like cultural. Well, it was like cultural, but it was also just the fact that it was like he was trying to be like, I want to be with you so badly. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to do that, including lying to my family. Right. And, you know, it ended up like, that's my pug. It ended up being like, you know, it backfired on him. But I think which we knew was going to happen. But in what we heard from like the previous episode was that like he had all these cultural pressures, like as far as taking care of his parents, as far as being in arranged marriage, and now he's like saying like, fuck it, I just want to be happy, and I'm gonna do what I want to do, and what I want to, and who I want to be with is Jenny, and like fuck everything else, like I'm done. It was kind of cool that like his friends and stuff were being really supportive about it, and so I felt like it's way better situation than it used to be, and I'm really rooting for them.
I am
so
too.
if for
sure.
any reason Ginny and Sumit you ever see this, I highly doubt it, but if you do, we love you so much. Who do you want to go to next?
Okay, so let's talk about Armando and Kenneth.
Okay.
We don't really see Kenneth at all this episode. We don't see Kenneth at all. But oh my god, the scene with Armando.
Cheers.
Oh my god, he comes back out to his parents because he's already came out once, but remember he said he felt like he was shoved back in the closet, and so he sits down with dinner with his parents and tells them like, I'm gay and I hope you can accept me for who I am. And it is so emotional, and his parents are crying, and he says something that really struck a chord with me. He's like, I think I may have confused you because I got married to a woman first.
Right.
But that's not who I am, and I didn't mean to confuse you, but I did it so that our small village wouldn't talk about me and they wouldn't talk about you. Like, right. I tried to do it to protect you, basically. Exactly. And it's just so heart-wrenching and beautiful. And at the end of it, his mother gets up and gives him a hug and is like, you will always be my son, and I love you no matter what. And his dad holds his hand.
Like, the sad
and
part
his
for
dad
me,
is crying.
He said to his mom, he said, like, it's like the worst feeling is thinking that you guys don't love me anymore. Right. And she says, how could you possibly think I don't love you? I'm your mother. Right. And like, that was just like so emotional for me. I was like, God, like, obviously his family loves him so much. Oh my God, and so obviously he just wants to do what's right for them, but he needs to like move on with his life and live his truth. And I think that's so amazing that he's actually doing that, and that his family was super supportive. I was scared. I'm not gonna lie. I was really scared.
Because he told the cameras, like, the first time I told him it was a shit show. Like, it was not good.
And the other thing too is that he even mentions like part of the real reason why he's moving 4 hours away is because he doesn't want anybody to talk crap about his family.
Yeah,
about what
I guess
he's doing.
They live in like a really small town where everyone, like, it reminds me of like a situation where like you're in a small town in America and everyone knows each other's business. Right. And that's basically what he was saying. It's like the same thing like in Mexico, like everybody knows each other's business here. So we want to go and move to a slightly bigger town where we can truly live authentically who we are and be who we are and be out in the open. And it's just beautiful and so understandable. And then, but his dad, when he holds his hand and he's like, I accept you, like, you're my son. And I was and his dad is crying, and I was like,
I know, that was like
it. But then he says, I'm moving with Kenneth 4 hours away and bringing Hannah, his daughter, with me. And then he was like, I hope I can come back and visit if I'm allowed, but I'm only going to come back if I can come with Kenneth. Right. Like, because if you don't accept him, then you don't fully accept me. And I totally get that. And his mom was like, yes, I speak for myself. I accept you. And then the dad was like, I need time to process this.
Yeah.
Which is like,
it's acceptable though, because I mean, look at their culture versus ours.
No, I totally get it. And and like Armando kept saying, like, Armando's words, not mine, kept saying like Mexican culture is more like macho culture and they're not so accepting and whatever. And so like I get his dad like maybe needing some time to like kind of like process that he is in like a full-blown relationship. Exactly. So I'm so excited to see where their story goes. Like, out of like any couple, I think like I'm the most excited about them because I just love them so much.
I know it. I feel like Jenny and Sumit and Armando and Kenny are like the two couples that I'm like, for sure you're gonna stay together. Mm-hmm. Like, it's I doubt we're gonna have any problems from them. They got like their issues out of the way really quickly, where like in past seasons it's like halfway through, they're like, but I have this secret to tell you.
Right.
And it's like, oh, okay.
Right, like immediately we see Kenneth telling his kids that Armando's younger, and immediately we see Armando telling his parents.
I'm basically just waiting for the next shoe to drop, because it's like, if they do have something else, they've been keeping it a secret really well. You know, they haven't like even alluded to it in the episodes that there's something else that has to happen.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something else. I'm sure there is, but especially since it's like, you know, we have 12 more fucking episodes.
They're so cute. And in the preview for next week, all it looks like is like Kenneth like saying goodbye to his grandson and his kids, and it looks like super sad. They
start coming over.
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. I love them. I'm rooting for them like big time. Like I love them.
I agree.
All right, Ji-hoon and Devin.
Okay, same thing I always say. I love Ji-hoon.
I love Ji-hoon.
Okay, so like one of the things
so ridiculous. I want to say he's stupid. He's not stupid. He's just lazy.
I think like one of my favorite parts of this episode was like they show a picture of him. They're like, oh, Ji-hoon. And they show a picture of him and he's like licking a lollipop or something. I was like, that's the fucking picture you chose. That's the one.
Ji-hoon looking like a 3-year-old. Perfect. Or like, it was super funny too. Like, TLC did this thing where it was like Ji-hoon, South Korea, and it's Ji-hoon like standing in a street in South Korea, and he goes,
he has to be like,
he goes like this with his hair and like fluffs it back, and I'm like, okay, K-pop, like
he has to be like they have to let them choose.
He's
their
got
own
like
thing.
the total K-pop vibe,
Absolutely.
like that like shaggy hair, and he's super cute and boyish, and like I totally get the appeal. Like he's adorable, he's charming.
Exactly.
He is who he is. So
Devin is heading over to Korea to be with him again for the second time, because in the first season she goes there
and then
leaves because he is making her stay at his parents' house, which is like she's not ready to do that. And she also has her one daughter and then her son with him.
I think also like the main problem with that was like they were staying in like a 1-bedroom apartment, and Ji-hoon was just like had no ambition to like go out and get a job or like anything, or like even try to be like, okay, I'm gonna take care of our family. And I think that was her big issue, was like, okay, I have 2 kids. This is not my home country. I don't speak Korean. And you need to take care of us. Like, if you want us to be a family unit all together, like, you need to do something.
Well, from what I
and I'm not living with your parents.
From what I understand, she had an agreement.
Right, yes. That's what she said.
Okay, you're like coming over there, and this dude doesn't even have a job. He still doesn't have a job. He's picking up like part-time work delivering. And it's like, okay, so he's like talking to his friends, and they're like, oh, what's going on? And he's like, oh yeah, so tomorrow Devin's gonna be here with my mother-in-law. She got a house for 1 month, and I told her that I was making considerably more than I actually am, and that I have a house lined up.
Well, what's so funny is like first, like before she even leaves to go to Korea, they're talking over like FaceTime or whatever, and she's like, okay, so what's your job? And he's like, tile. And then
just tile.
And then she's like, so how much are you making? He's like, $3,000 to $4,000 a month. And she's like, you don't know exactly how much you're making. And then
suspicious as all hell. Cancel your tickets. Cancel your tickets. Don't go, Devin.
It's so suspicious. And then he's like, well, I have a side job delivering. And then she's like, okay, so how much do you make a month? And he's like, 6,000 to 7,000. And it's like, dude, you should know your income. You should know, you should be budgeting.
He ends up saying that it's like, okay, if I work mornings, afternoons, and overnights, I should be able to afford this place. And it's so, like, so when do
24 hours
and
a day.
He says he can't take any days off. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so basically this is going to be a huge flop. I can't wait to see that shit show. I really like them as like a couple.
Oh,
I'm not huge on Devin by herself. I like Ji-hoon by herself, but as a couple, I think that they're like
it's trouble.
Right. And
It's
they're already
trouble
married.
city.
They're
It's
already
trouble
married. They're
city.
husband and wife. But it's like, you just know that they are going to be the shit show.
And what's so funny
of the
too
season.
is like when he's like telling us they're at like this amazing looking Korean barbecue place. Like, I want to go.
I
Where they're
literally
like
was salivating.
oh my god, they're like roasting their own meat, and then they have like all of these amazing fixings on the side. I'm like, I need to go there immediately.
I want that kimchi
Right.
right the fuck now.
Right. But
In my mouth.
anyways, he's like talking to his friends, and he tells his friends, this is so funny. It's like, yeah, she's coming here, and she actually was the one that rented the apartment for the month. And his friend goes, she's amazing. And I'm like, right, like, Ji-hoon, wake up, see
What are you
see
doing?
what you have in front of you. Like, you have a woman who is taking care of her kids. She's doing the right thing. Like, wake up, get with it. But then his friends in the side interview, when they're like, I've known Ji-hoon for 15 to 20 years, and I can't imagine him having 2 jobs. Like, they were like
job
laughing
at all at this point.
and then they were like, he makes Korean men look bad.
Yeah, you said that we're embarrassed.
Yeah, we're
and I was
embarrassed.
like, oh my god,
He
this
makes
poor guy.
Korean men look bad. And I was just like, dude, like, when your friends are like not backing you up and they're even like, dude's a fuck up. Like, like, that's some shit. Like, that's some shit.
They're straight up like just straight dunking on you, dude.
They are. Like, they're like straight up like, dude's not gonna do shit.
He's not gonna
Like,
do anything.
they're like, this is her second time around. Like, it should never even come
She's
to
going to leave
second
again,
time
and they're not
around.
going to end up staying together. Although I think that they will either way.
Well, we know that they're going to, though, because the opener is her in Korea while the COVID,
exactly.
the virus is here, and she's
currently.
yeah, and so it's like 7 months prior, and it's Devin wearing a face mask, and she's filming out into like a South Korean street, and the streets are just empty, and she's like, COVID is hit here real hard, and so we know she at least stays there for 7 months.
And she's probably obviously still
And
there.
she's
You
still
can't really go
stuck
anywhere.
there, right? With a baby and kids, you can't travel, you can't do shit right now, like.
Yep.
So we know she's still there, according to TLC. So I don't know.
We're going
But
to look up some stuff and do some
that
spoiler
was
alerts.
so hilarious. So when his friends were just like, dudes, he won't have 2 jobs. Like, are you kidding me? And it's so funny because, you know, like, you've had interactions with friends before where you're like,
Oh, okay.
well, yeah. Oh, yeah, okay, dude. Like,
See you at that
yeah,
job you have.
yeah.
I'm gonna come check on you.
Right? Like, dude is not fucking Ji-hoon, dude. So funny.
He basically just says, like, straight up, he's like, yeah, I keep thinking about it, and I just think I'm fucked.
Yeah, and
Like-
then he's like, the more I talk to you guys, the more stressed I get. I'm like, literally, your baby mama's on a plane on the way to South Korea as you're having dinner with your boys, and you're now just stressing about it.
Yeah,
Like,
you're just now thinking about how you have to get a house.
thinking about like how stressed you should be. Like, who are you? Like, I don't even understand. And like, I have no idea. Like, did his parents like baby him too much? Like,
I don't know. Is he an only child even? I think he is
he is
too.
an only
And I
child.
feel like maybe that's exactly what happened. They were just basically like, we'll take care of you forever, Ji-hoon.
I don't know though, because I just feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm totally stereotyping here, but like, I always feel like South Korean parents are like, you get a job and you make money and you do what you need to do.
Exactly.
Like, they push you. You know what I mean? Like, they're not coddling you, as far as I know about the South Korean culture. I could be completely
But what's
wrong.
happening with Ji-hoon? Because
Right,
they're not
but
going,
what
hey,
happened
you're
what happened with
you're
Ji-hoon?
ruining our
Right.
family name.
But
or
that's why I
anything.
think his friends were like, we're embarrassed, like, to even be friends with him, because they know, like, this is not the cultural norm. Like,
Right.
this is not what most South Korean men are doing. Like, this is
Exactly.
this is beyond. So I don't know. If you are from South Korea, let us know if this is normal.
Just tell us if you are. You
Just
don't have to
tell
tell us
us,
whether or not
right.
it's actually a normal thing.
Yeah.
Just tell us that you're from
and come talk to us because we would love to talk about June and know if like what he
Is this normal?
Is this normal? Is he normal?
Is this guy doing things
Is he
like the way the
normal?
thing was supposed to happen?
Can he work tile?
Yeah,
I don't know.
for real.
Okay, so Yasmin and Brittany. Oh wait, no, let's do Ariella and BB first.
Okay, that's really quick.
Oh yeah,
So,
super quick.
But
Okay.
basically nothing.
Basically nothing. Basically, she's saying goodbye to her parents, and her dad's sad, and her mom gives her some guilt, and she starts crying in the car and is like, I'm gonna miss my family. It's different. Right. It's different because I'm not gonna have my family to support me.
I love him
and
I care about him, but it's not like having my entire family there.
The thing that pisses me off about her is like, dude, duh. Like, you knew this. Like, this is the choice that you're making. Like, I do not feel sorry for you. Like,
I think my big issue with them, which we actually haven't really seen BB at all.
Yeah, we'll see him next.
Yeah, we're gonna see him next
episode.
But my big issue is that her mom is her mom's a nurse, has been a nurse for over 30 years. And she's going to Ethiopia to have her baby, right? And her mom is coming with her, and she's like, did you bring the epidural kit? And it's like, you can't just do epidurals on people. Like, that's not like,
right.
That like, you have to be certified
right,
for
you
that.
have to be, like, be able to administer
You're literally putting something into someone's spine, and you just think that your nurse mom can just go
it's just
and
gonna like enter it.
Here, let me just bring my epidural.
What I loved about her mom was like, she had like a squeezy bottle.
Oh my God.
Like, she was like
a douche.
She was like, do you know what this is? And she was like, your sister knows what this is. And she was like, no, what is it? And she was like, after you give birth, you fill this with some hot soapy water and you squeeze it in there to prevent infection. And I was just like, is that what they do? I don't know.
Neither of us have kids, obviously.
Yeah, so
sorry.
I'm like, I don't know. Is that normal? Like, is that a thing? Jesus. I don't know. But the other thing about that was interesting was that when she was saying goodbye to her parents, we found out that BB has a baby who's 2 years old.
Yeah, where did that come from?
I know, that was just dropped on us. Like, he's 2 years, or his baby, we don't know if it's male or female, but BB, they call him. BB had a child with an American woman and has no contact with the child anymore. Like, the child now lives in America, and BB has no like parental rights or anything anymore. So her family was like super skeptical about that and was like, well, he already has a child, and like, does this worry you at all? But her family seems super supportive.
They do seem really supportive, and I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, no, that is really awesome.
Because
like,
I mean,
they're not judging a book by its cover, and they're saying like, okay, well, like, whatever, we're gonna support our daughter no matter what. But to me, those are red flags. Where if I was the sister, I would be like, no, like, no.
Like, if I was trying to like move out of the country, I think that my family would be supportive, but I also think that they would be very concerned about why I'm going and where I'm going and how, how it's going to be.
And especially like, I don't know, like, just knowing from what we heard in previous episodes about what the medical field or the state of hospitals and things like that are in Ethiopia would worry me, where it's like they don't always have access to blood. And what if you do bleed out? And what if
it is concerning
like birth. Like that stuff is super concerning.
Those are all things that could happen to you while giving birth.
And you don't know what's gonna happen. Like, any of that could happen. Like, of course you wish for the best, but like,
and everyone's birthing story is completely different. And coming from a family, like, obviously you're aware, but like, my sister is a lactation consultant, and we have nurses in our family. My mom is a midwife and doula. And these are all things that we, I've heard about.
We hear about and happening here in America.
I've never ever had a child in my life, but I've got a lot of nieces and nephews, and I will tell you right now that they all had different ways that they came into this world, and then also we've had some complications in my family, and I can't imagine going through what some of my family members have gone through in a
Right.
different country, especially like in a
Right.
not as developed country.
And her mom's only going to be there. So her mom's traveling with her to Ethiopia, and her mom's only going to be there for 2 weeks. What if she doesn't have that baby within 2 weeks amount
Right,
of time?
what happens then?
And then you're all alone in a foreign country with your significant other you've only spent X amount of days with, and like the medical system is not that great. Like, I don't know.
We're not experts, but we can
I'm not
comment.
an expert, but I would not be about it. I would not, like, that just scares me. I don't know. I feel like when you're pregnant, you're all about like keeping that baby like alive and
As
well
safe as
and
possible,
as
yeah.
safe as possible.
And you know what? It's not even just about like, I mean, about the mother that's giving birth, but that baby too. There's so many complications that can happen during the birthing process.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I would be scared shitless to not have my sister in the room with me.
Oh my God. Your mom
and
at least
mom,
outdoors,
somebody
or like somebody like
that
other people to support you. Like, she's giving up her whole support system basically, and if she doesn't have that baby within 2 weeks, her mom's gone too. Like, it's just gonna be you and Bibi, and it's like, I don't know, maybe some women are okay with that, but
and that's
I would be
so hard on her family to be like, oh, she's gonna be giving birth to like our first, you know, like niece or nephew, and then you can't even be there to even like greet this baby.
I know, and what's so wild to me too is like, not only is her mom a nurse for 35 years, but her dad's a cardiologist. Like, so it's like,
it sounds like you have a pretty set system that you should probably just have the baby here and then fly there rather than doing it.
It's just wild to me that they aren't like trying to talk her out of this more.
I think that they're just kind of going like, she's going to do whatever she wants to do, and there's nothing that they can do to stop it, which, you know what? I guess that's true.
I get it. Yeah. I mean,
but at the same time, it's like,
she's an adult. She can make her own decisions and do what she wants to do. But I would be telling her like flat out, like, here's the research. Like, I would be like putting like pie graphs in her face.
Yeah.
Anytime, like, death rate.
Right.
Or like, you know what I mean?
Here's
like
some things you need to know about what happens in Ethiopia.
I would just be like sending her articles every single day and being like,
I'd be very concerned, and it's not even like anything about necessarily like, you know, Ethiopia or like how they do things. It's just not being there. Like, if my sister was to be in another country and be like giving birth, I would be freaking out the entire time. Right. I would be like texting her husband constantly, what's going on, where, you know what I mean? Like, it's to me.
But not only that, like, to me, like, I don't know, like, not like having access to epidurals and not having access to blood and not having access to medication that they need, like, that's terrifying.
That is terrifying.
Like, that's terrifying. Like, I know blood's not even always accessible here for when people need it, but like, I've never heard of like an epidural shortage. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but like, I never hear of like,
you know, it could just be like whether or not they even have like the people around that are skilled to do it, to actually do it all the time. I mean, it's the same thing as last season with what's his name? Not Rock. They were in South Africa.
Oh, Ronald and Tiffany. Yeah.
And she had the same issue. She was pregnant going over there.
Oh, yeah, but she went into that hospital and looked at it.
But that's what I'm saying is like, she actually went in and actually took the
took the time to look at the hospital,
to figure it out, and was like, this is not going to work for me. And I think that this girl doesn't have as much time to be like,
no, she doesn't.
And then
like,
go back.
She looks like she's halfway through her pregnancy.
Oh, I think that in the very first episode, they say that she's 6 months pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
So she only has 3 months. And then you can assume, I mean, you know, it's not like this is the next day and then the next day. This is over the course of months. So, I mean, if I can only assume how pregnant she is, we know that she's at least 6 months, and then she could be even further along during the filming of this one episode.
Right.
And if that's the case, then she's going there and she's not going to be able to fly.
No.
Like, you cannot fly after a certain amount of time.
Right.
So if she goes there, she might be stuck there. And that is something that I would be concerned about too as a family member in that situation.
That's a nightmare to me.
I don't think that you and I even like thought about that in the beginning.
No,
like the
I
fact
didn't.
that
She would be
come
stuck.
back.
Like she sucked. Like
It's a lot.
Dude, I just can't imagine like giving up. I know this sounds like super like pro-America patriot, but like giving up American healthcare system.
Right.
But like that's what I know. And so that's what I'm comfortable
and
with.
Ours isn't even awesome.
And ours isn't even the greatest.
Ours isn't even awesome.
Ours is not even the greatest.
And we have high like death rates.
We do, and it's increasing.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so I don't know. The whole thing just really freaks me out. But I hope, amen, everything goes well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so last couple, Yazan and Brittany.
That's gonna be, I think that might be the actual shit show of
the century.
Show, yeah.
Of the century.
Of the century. At least for this season. I think that they are gonna be kind of a shit show. So we know from the last episode that Brittany was getting ready to go over, and she is talking to her dad about how she's still married. And in this episode, Yazan is talking to his father about how he wants to bring her, or that he's bringing her over, and his father is saying like, oh, as long as she has the divorce papers, we have to see the decree saying that they're divorced.
Well, not only that, but like on top of like the first thing is like, is she gonna convert to Islam? And Yazan says, yes,
she's going to.
And we're gonna do it slowly. And he was like, okay, that's what's most important, that she's not gonna hate Islam. Is she gonna wear the hijab? Yes, she is.
Which I think she does agree to doing.
Blah, blah, blah. And then the last one is, does she have the divorce document? Yes, she does. And it's like, lie, lie, lie. Well, she's already said she has like no intention of converting to Islam. So I don't know if that's something that she has not expressed to him, but she's expressed it to the TLC producers that she has no intention of converting to Islam. And then she doesn't really talk much about the hijab, but as far as I can see,
we've seen clips of her in the future where she is wearing hijab.
Yeah.
So, which, obviously there are some things that you have to do in order to, like, avoid scrutiny and everything. But that doesn't, just wearing a hijab does not mean that you are Islam.
No.
And the other thing too is that we know that she is still currently married.
And she doesn't have those doors.
There are no, the thing is that is his dad says in the episode, as soon as she gets here, you need to get married.
Yeah.
And he's like, yep, we're doing that. And she has expressed that she is not interested in getting married quickly.
But apparently he has too. And so I don't know if he's just like playing the good son and like trying to get his parents off his back, or like he genuinely believes that like they will. But like, I'm like, dude, you're lying straight up to your parents. Like, you have no idea what this.
But let's touch down on the fucking shit
at the airport
that happens as soon as she gets there. I love mess. I love it. I love mess so much. So trashy, and we love it. So she touches down. She starts to go to the car with him. They're all excited to see each other.
He has flowers.
He says that they've seen each other a total of like 40-something days before this. So they've got a little bit of time, a little more time than some of the other couples. Mm-hmm. So she's going to the car. The camera crew, like meets them, and she gives them hugs. Because
they have to stop and mic her up because she wasn't mic'd after the plane. So they stop to mic her up and they give her hugs. The crew gives her hugs. And as this is all happening, he sees inside her carry-on bag that she has a bottle of Patron tequila.
And he flips out. He flips out. He is so upset. He says that she's not allowed to be drinking there, that it's super not okay, that they can't be hugging and doing all that stuff.
But he's like, F you, F her, F the Britney.
The Britney.
Yeah, that's what he says.
F the Britney.
F the Britney.
And then he goes, F you, and the camera guy is just like, or
He goes,
the producer is F me, why?
And he's like, not F you. He was like,
No, but F me though, because, I'm stupid. And it's like, wait a minute, you just backpedaled so hard, dude. You're like, fuck you. But then you're like, oh, but actually I meant fuck me.
But
because
then
I'm
he
stupid.
ends up saying like, drinking's not allowed. But she was like, drinking is allowed in Jordan, actually.
It is allowed in Jordan.
Probably not allowed for
females.
But I don't know.
We don't know.
I'm not saying that for fact, but I'm saying he had a major problem.
But he didn't want it.
And
exactly.
his parents are super conservative, so whatever it was, she triggered him big time.
Did not like it.
And just leaves her out there and goes like back to the car, and she's just like standing there with like all of her suitcases and everything, and I'm like, this is so awkward. Like if that happened to me, I would be like, bye. Like, I'm calling my dad.
As soon as they get in the car, he starts putting his hands in her face saying, enough. And it's like, if somebody did that to me, they wouldn't have a fucking hand anymore.
No hands.
You wouldn't have a hand. I'd be like, nope. And she even says, I'm an American, I have my own culture. Girl, you knew what you were getting into coming here.
That's what
you already knew that.
That is what's so wild to me. Is like, you knew his culture. But at the same time, you can say vice versa. He knew her culture. He saw her on Instagram. He saw her online.
But in his defense, I feel like if you're going to the other one's country,
right,
then there are rules that you have to abide by. And going to Jordan, that it's probably not okay for you to be hugging men, and it's probably not okay for you to have liquor, and it's probably not okay.
But like,
and he says that he told her ahead of time that these were the rules. So if she wasn't okay with that, she should have said that ahead of time.
But like, my big thing is like, okay, did she tell him? Like, was she misleading him? Like, did she tell him like, okay, I'm going to give up all this stuff. I'm going to do all these things that you wanted me to do. I'm going to convert to Islam. I'm going to be this way. I'm going to be that way.
Yeah, how much of it was truth behind her and not behind him?
Right. Because you don't know. Maybe he was like, oh, you'll be fine. You're going to be fine. I don't know. And they spent 40 days together. So it's like, I just don't understand. Like, there had to have been mess way before this.
Well, like, absolutely. I mean, he even says that she met his parents before.
Right.
And that she's promised them that when she came and saw them the next time, she would have the divorce decree.
Right.
And we know that's a lie. So I'm really curious to see what happens for the rest of the season. I really feel like in my heart of hearts that it's not going to be okay.
They're the messiest.
They are the messiest. I think that it's going to be the messiest of breakups as well. If they do get married, it's going to be short-lived, just like most of our other couples that have had the same issue.
Like she's going to have to give up so much more of herself than he's ever going to have to give up, and that's just not going to work for her.
The thing is that she is a rapper and she dresses however she wants to dress. I'm not going to say like scantily clad or anything like that, because personally, I don't give a fuck how you dress.
I like how she dresses.
I do too.
I mean, if you have the body of rocket.
But like, you know that those things would not fly over in Jordan. No. You know that.
Especially because his parents are so ultra conservative, and like, it's just not going to happen. But anyways, it's 11:01, so
we're going to wrap it up. Okay, so next week, we're obviously going to be doing 30 Day. We're still going to keep on talking about some of the other shows that we've been watching. If you have shows that you would like us to watch, please, please, please comment on our Facebook under Trash Pandas, all one word, capital T, capital P, just like to eat.
We would love to do some more true crime if you guys are into that. I love true crime.
Same.
I will dive deep.
Send us whatever reality shows you've got, whatever trashy shows you've got, whatever trending shows you've got, even if they're fictional, doesn't matter. We just want to talk about anything you guys are watching, anything you guys are interested in.
Absolutely.
So make sure you comment on everything. Let us know what you guys are watching. We'll comment on it too.
Follow us on Facebook.
And we're going to start an Instagram as well. We'll start an email account. We'll start that by next week. And thank you so much for watching. We love you guys.
Bye.